Walking into the home of the Engstroms in Washington, just outside Peoria, you'll immediately realize this is a family of faith. Parents Bonnie and Travis Engstrom and their 8 children. While you can find scenes of family love like this one in many homes, you won't find a story like the Engstroms anywhere in the world. It's a story that involves their Catholic faith, their son, James, the late Archbishop Fulton Sheen, a former priest of Peoria, and a church-approved miracle that defied science and medicine. The story begins on September 16, 2010, when James Fulton was born at home.
Everything seemed beautiful and perfect and peaceful. I went into labor and it just seemed absolutely like it was bathed in prayer. We felt like we were on the cusp of something great. And everything was going along just perfectly. And it wasn't until my son was delivered that we realized that we were completely wrong.
And your son came out and he wasn't breathing.
Immediately, I knew that sometimes babies needed to be stimulated to wake up, to take their first breath. So I wasn't super nervous right away. We had professionals in the room, but when they started to become worried, we started to become worried. And my midwife took my son from my hands and she laid him on the ground, started CPR. We had a friend who was present, a former NICU nurse, and she knew the situation was bad, so she left to call 911.
What's going through your mind now seeing your lifeless child there, and you probably feel completely helpless and obviously beyond worried and freaking out?
I was actually shutting down and going into a state of shock. I wasn't able to process what was happening in front of me, but I have a distinct memory of watching my husband do an emergency baptism on our son, and of also sitting and saying in my head Fulton Sheen's name over and over again. Fulton Sheen, Fulton Sheen, Fulton Sheen. I think because I was in a state of shock, I just could not find any other words except to call on the name of the man whom I had already entrusted my son to during my pregnancy.
The Engstroms rushed James to the hospital, continuing to call on Fulton Sheen to intercede for them, needing a miracle. At the hospital, the medical team did everything they could to restart James's heart.
There came a point where the neonatologist said, try for 5 more minutes and then call it. So they tried for 5 more minutes and nothing happened. And so everyone stopped working on James to call time of death. And it was at that moment, when all hope was gone and all hands were off, that James's heart started to beat again.
It was 61 minutes from the time James was born until his heart miraculously started beating. James was taken to the NICU, and there, doctors painted a grim picture. Because James didn't have a heartbeat for such a long time, it was expected his organs would fail at any minute, and he wouldn't survive. Still calling on the intercession of Fulton Sheen, James again miraculously made it through. And not only did he survive, he ended up being fine.
There came a point where a nurse said to us, Bonnie, he's just a normal baby and he needs to go home from the NICU and do normal baby things. And that was just the first time in 7 weeks anyone had called my baby normal. And that was when we really knew the miracle had happened. You know, all this time of praying for Fulton Sheen's intercession, and the miracle had happened.
The Diocese of Peoria investigated the miraculous healing, interviewing the doctors, nurses, family, among others. No one had a medical explanation. Those findings were sent to Rome, where medical experts who advised the Congregation for the Causes of Saints agreed. There was no medical or scientific explanation for what happened. It was a miracle. Theologians then unanimously approved that the miracle was attributable to the intercession of Fulton Sheen. Those findings were sent to Pope Francis, who on July 5, 2019, approved James's miracle for Archbishop Fulton Sheen's beatification.
Not every family has a miracle approved by the Pope.
No.
What's that like?
It's very surreal. It's incredible. We were actually woken out of bed with the news, and it was just, one of those things where you're like, you can't stop smiling all day long.
I love this picture because It's like it remembers about me, like praying to Fulton Sheen. I feel better
Yeah.
about me.
Do you still pray to Fulton Sheen for help sometimes?
Yes.
I think that my family is extraordinarily ordinary. We're just like everyone else on the block. There's a little bit more kids in our family, but otherwise, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about it is that Jesus Christ is still active today. He still cares about us, and he is listening to our prayers.
When you look back on this story and you think, didn't breathe for 61 minutes, doctors are about to declare him dead. Even when he does start to breathe again, doctors say he's probably not going to make it or have a very poor quality of life. And now here we are. What goes through your mind?
Gratitude. And a smallness. I feel very small and unworthy of this gift, but God is really good. One of the messages is that every life matters, that our God is still raising people from the dead. Miracles of biblical proportions are still happening. And I think the number one thing that I want people to take away is that Fulton Sheen is not the one who brought James back from the dead. It was Jesus Christ who brought James back from the dead. And Fulton Sheen played a very special part in that. But that's just the power and the beauty of the community of saints, that we are all connected in the body of Christ.
Father Michael, that story, obviously incredible. I mean, the child didn't breathe for 61 minutes and he made it out, and of course he's doing fine today. There's so many things about that story that resonate with me. Number one, that miracles do happen, and these, we think about miracles, sometimes we think, oh, they happened centuries ago or they can't happen anymore. Well, no, they very much do happen today. I mean, this event happened in 2010, and they don't happen in faraway places. They can happen in our own lives. Right. These happen in our own backyard. And then finally, just turning to heaven for help.
Right. Yeah, and we Jewish Catholics believe in the communion of saints, and people can wonder, why would I go to anyone but Jesus? Because Jesus is God. The reality is that Jesus made it abundantly clear that he doesn't want to do things by himself. Jesus wants to empower his disciples to do what he did, okay? And yeah, in the Gospels, Jesus sends them to his disciples to share the gospel and heal people and deliverances. So he's empowering them to do what he did. And so when it comes to those who have gone before us in heaven, it's not like their ability to help is taken away. If people still have powerful prayers, they can still help us. And sometimes we treat heaven as this very far away place that we have no contact with, that's at the edge of the universe, and that's not really accurate. Heaven is actually mysteriously very close to us. And sometimes maybe you've heard this phrase where people say that the veil is thin. The veil between heaven and earth is thin. So God and the saints and angels are not actually far away. There's a mysterious way they're actually very close to us, and they're involved with us. And so if we have the faith to reach out to them, we can receive their help.